A new update of eFootball is out, and in the daily game rewards, a new SHOWTIME Kante card with Fortress is now available. This card is crazy. We will have a look at some builds, the skills, the booster, and compare him to 3 of the other Kante cards. Here comes Pepper. Welcome everybody! Let's start with a very generic defensive midfielder build. No points in shooting. 4 in passing and dribbling, as the first points are the most efficient ones. Kante has 39 levels, which is a lot, and the points really help him in these categories. 9 in dexterity to reach the +3 manager boost in acceleration. 11 points in lower body strength, not only for the +3 manager boost in speed, but also for high stamina, which he really needs. 4 points in aerial, similar as before, we take the most efficient route. You could give him more points in aerial, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. Even if you gave him great aerial strength and the aerial superiority skill, which I probably wouldn't, he will never be able to challenge good players in the air. The physical contact would be nice, but Kante isn't really the player that gets the ball through physical force, but through tacklings and through being everywhere, and fast so. 4 more points in aerial strength would already cost 8 progression points for essentially only a single stat, because jump and heading just aren't as relevant for him. I have one build ready that does that, but it might already be too much. I'd say 4 or 6 could be the sweet spot. I personally wouldn't go over 8 because it gets really inefficient then. All the remaining points go into defending. Here you also have to make a choice. The 13th point is not as efficient as the others anymore, because not only does it cost 4 instead of 3 allocation points, it also only raises defensive awareness and tackling because the other stats are capped out already. So, and this goes for all builds, you're free to stay at 12 and allocate the points elsewhere. For example, passing, dribbling, or aerial strength. The second build is more of a well-rounded box-to-box build rather than a purely defensively focused one. Feel free to also use this for a central midfielder. We have 8 points in both dribbling and passing here, because as he is further up and not as defensive, being able to handle the ball well and pass better becomes more important. Dexterity and lower body strength remain the same, as we don't want to lose out on the +3 manager boosts or the great stamina, because he needs it. 4 in aerial strength, same as before. If you prefer it more bulky, you could remove 2 points in passing here, as passing assist is very strong anyway. Only 8 in defending here, because we need to get the points from somewhere, right? If you only want him to defend and then just make a basic pass to the next player, then you could try this build. It has additional dexterity for the dribbling and 2 passing points. He will be worse on the ball and when passing, but if you can deal with that, he'll be even faster. As before, you could also use the 13th point in defending for something else. Either for the 12th point in lower body strength, plus 1 point in dribbling, passing, or aerial strength. Whatever you like more. Here is a more physical build for those who really want the points in physical contact. 4 in passing like the first build, and 1 more point in dribbling because we had 2 allocation points left. Dexterity and lower body strength remain the same again, but then 8 points in aerial for some extra physical power. We stay with 10 in defending, which, since his defensive stats are crazy high anyway, should be alright. If you want an alternative build without the 13th point in defending, this one could be for you. There's 2 ways to do this. The first one is, speaking from the first build as the base, to add 1 point to lower body strength. Then you have 1 point left over, so you want to either reduce dribbling or passing and then add it to the other one. The second way to do it is this build, where you just don't take the 12 point in lower body strength, which leaves you with an even number of progression points, allowing you to increase either passing or, like in my case here, dribbling by 2 points. About his skills, the ones I would give him for sure are blocker and acrobatic clearance. I would say track back would also be a really good choice. For me, these 3 are the best options. Apart from that, low lofted pass is a possibility for the low lofted pass plus weighted pass combo from far behind. If you only take 1 out of trackback and low lofted pass, you could also go for soul control and flip flap for the special double touch if you feel like you need it. Heel trick is also an option, as well as any feint you like as usual. For the booster, I would go for another dueling. If you use random boosters and get shut down or defending, keep them. They're also good. Now let's move to the comparisons, starting with an older Chelsea Kante card. You can actually see that this is probably the card that they took as the base for the new one, because many stats are equal. The new Kante loses in jump by 1 point and stamina by 2 points, but wins or is at least equal everywhere else. Especially the differences between defensive awareness, tackling and speed really matter. It's basically an almost strictly better card than the Chelsea one, and the Chelsea one was already really good. The second comparison is versus the European Championship Kante. This time the new Kante actually loses in offensively relevant stats such as dribbling or passing. However, he clearly wins all the defensive stats by quite a big margin, as well as speed. He loses acceleration though. The old Kante also has 4 physical contact on him, which you could compensate for as one of the builds has shown. Since the new Kante is so much better defensively, you could also just, like I show here, make him have lower defensive stats and better stats offensively, which would pretty much turn it around, as can be seen here. So yeah, this is definitely also a win for the new Kante, especially since he also has the fortress skill. The next comparison is versus the old Showtime Kante. Here we can see that the new Kante loses quite hard at the actual dribbling stat, but is quite a bit better in tight possession and also better by 1 in ball control. The new Kante is clearly faster, but loses physical contact by quite a bit. Again, as before, if you would choose a physical build, you could close this gap a little if you liked. The defensive stats, as usual, are a huge win for the new Kante again. Now, for the last and ultimate comparison, let's compare him to the very latest Patrick Vieira. Vieira has 2 points on him in both offensive awareness as well as ball control. Kante wins tight possession by 1 point though. Kante loses heading by 20, which is a huge difference, but since Kante is not an aerial player at all, this is to be expected. Place kicking and curl are not exactly very relevant. Speed and acceleration, however, are, and Kante wins it, although by a pretty small margin. The difference in physical contact is huge, but again, this is to be expected. Kante is not that much about physicality, but about being everywhere and getting from A to B really quick and all game long. Vieira wins stamina by 2, nothing big. All the defensive stats go to Kante, and the difference is quite remarkable. So now the big question, who of them is better and by how much? Can we say that Kante is better defensively if we just don't consider physicality and aerial? In my opinion, not even then, because one very important part is missing, and that's height and leg length. Vieira is very tall and has maximum leg length, making him one of the best interceptors in the entire game. Kante, however, is quite small, and while he does have 11 leg length, which is way above average, he's still far away from challenging Vieira. But losing to the best defensive midfielder in the game, especially as a free card, is fine. Even more especially so since it's not a massive loss. So for me, this new Kante is absolutely crazy, and it's really insane that we will get it for free. Well, that's it folks, let me know if you liked this video. I'd love if you subscribed, liked or commented. Until then guys, take it easy. Shaka!